right before the halftime show with Bad Bunny was running, the White House posted this ad.
We don't do subtle. We choose bold.
For the first time in history, flying over the rope of America.
We don't limit our ambition. Never have. We build big. We move fast. We bet on ourselves and don't apologize for winning. We say what we mean and we stand by it.
If you don't know, now you know.
We are fully, proudly, and unapologetically American.
That AI-fueled ad there from the White House was pushing more propaganda for this administration. I mean, trying to make them look good. Oh, we bet on ourselves. We're badasses. Marco Rubio says, if you don't know, now you know. What do we know? I think the people who didn't know, they finally realized that this administration is covering for pedophiles, that they're destroying the economy. All those promises that he made about populism are all BS. I feel like now that's what people know. And things like this are more propaganda, and it's not really going to work out, especially since one of the competing things that was put forward also during said Super Bowl, it wasn't a Super Bowl ad because this group couldn't afford however many tens of millions, hundreds probably at this point, of millions of dollars people put forward in order to run an ad at the Super Bowl. But this is probably the competing ad that maybe more people could have paid attention to.
After years of being kept apart, we're standing together.
Standing together.
Because this girl deserves the truth.
Because she deserves the truth.
Because we all deserve the truth.
That ad from worldwithoutexploitation.org was featuring some of the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and many other people that have yet to be named, some of which have been in some of these accusations. But they put forward that ad, and no, it wasn't an actual Super Bowl ad, but it did go out during said Super Bowl because they knew people would be paying attention, and maybe more folks would understand what it is that we're dealing with, what we're seeing every day, but that is spreading. Also, the other thing that was spreading was this battle back and forth over the halftime show. The buildup came from many MAGA conservatives that were upset about the fact that Bad Bunny, a Puerto Rican artist, was doing the halftime show, and they knew that he was probably going to be, performing. The problem is they didn't want people to see maybe some of the messages that are included in this performance. One being when he said, "God bless America." What? As you saw him go through all of those countries, God bless America. Went through all the countries in the Americas, I guess the Western Hemisphere that, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump and Stephen Miller keep saying that they control and they should tell what to do. The message then came in many forms. And I think maybe some people missed it, but I think a lot of folks that paid attention did get it. Everyone knew that there was going to be a response from this president. And, when you hear things like, unity, propping up other folks' cultures that he likes to shoot down all the time, things like that. And then when he sees it, which I don't know how he saw it, he was supposed to be watching a competing halftime show. He had this to say: the Super Bowl halftime show is absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever. It makes no sense. It's an affront to the greatness of America. Anybody who watched that can understand how much Donald Trump hates this country if he saw that and got that from it. Here's more. And it doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. I guess not for white supremacists. Nobody understands a word this guy is saying, and the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching from throughout the USA and all over the world. This quote-unquote show is just a slap in the face to our country, which is setting new standards and records every single day of destruction. He didn't say the destruction part, but we know what the truth is. Here's more. Including the best stock market and 401ks in history. There's nothing inspirational about this mess of a halftime show, and watch. It'll get great reviews from the fake news media because they haven't got a clue of what's really going on in the real world. And by the way, the NFL should immediately replace its ridiculous new kickoff rule. You see the quick admission there at the back end. Everybody's going to love this halftime show, but I want to say right now, if you see everybody loving this halftime show, it's more of my propaganda talking, or I'll just call it the fake news media, because apparently he thinks that the fake news media can control everyone's brains and what it is that they see and experience when they watch something else besides what it is that apparently he missed. Why is Donald Trump going on and on about Bad Bunny's halftime show, which was talking about love and unity and how love is more powerful than hate? I guess these are messages that Donald Trump thinks are un-American, not based in his white supremacist background and the way that he's pushing fascism on this country. He admitted it, not me. But instead, he was supposed to be watching like something else. I heard there was an alternative show that was put forward that was supposed to be for all the MAGAs, the real patriotic, loving Americans. Except, I can see why he skipped this. Now, I'm not super familiar with that particular song from Kid Rock. I've definitely heard it multiple times, but I don't know any of the lyrics, and apparently neither does Kid Rock. Because as he got up there and bounced around and I guess was singing, rapping into the microphone, what was actually happening was he was not even really lip syncing. Because as you saw many times, as many people have pointed out, that microphone kept leaving his face in the middle of lyrics that he apparently was supposed to continue to keep acting like he was saying. Now, by the way, there's many artists that still perform, especially high energy ones, and they're going to be out of breath because they're a little bit, older, would maybe lip sync some parts or maybe lip sync their whole damn show, except they would probably know when the words are there and they should act like the microphone is still at their face. But it did kind of, I feel like it highlighted, or it was a pretty good example of the fakeness of this entire MAGA movement, all the supporters of it. They don't really believe in anything they're really doing and saying. They're just doing this because they like the power trip. But I didn't realize this part, because I saw someone point out that this wasn't even live. Like, you can't even fake it live. Apparently, this All-American halftime show was pre-recorded and it was filmed in an Atlanta studio. And also, the folks that were there, they featured this video from Pete Hegseth for some reason.
From the War Department, we salute Turning Point USA and every American who still believes freedom is worth defending. Thank you for your courage as an organization, your clarity, and your leadership. And for this halftime show that the War Department is proud to support. This year, we mark 250 years since a band of citizens pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. For 2.5 centuries, Americans have answered that call on farms and factory floors, in shipyards and labs, in cockpits and foxholes, and in every uniform our nation has worn. Freedom is not automatic. It is defended by a strong nation and a ready force, and that's our job. To our troops, our veterans, and the families who serve alongside them, we see you, we thank you, and we've got your back. So I hope you're enjoying this game. Happy Freedom 250, the things that really matter. God bless our warriors, and God bless our great republic.
Because Pete Hegseth being a part of a halftime show, which has nothing to do with, I guess, the music or the game that folks were watching, is just something they need to insert because this was actually a propaganda exercise. They did a soundstage in Atlanta and then packed it with, hand-selected people to act like they're in this audience. And they took these WWE-style hyper shots to make sure we couldn't really tell how slowly, I guess, Kid Rock was moving around, and also how they had to pretend there was some kind of energy behind this. Fireworks, fire, fire, fire. It was like an Erica Kirk event, which brings me to the last point about this whole thing. They don't care. They actually don't care that the performance sucked. They don't care that the performance was very subpar. They don't care that he didn't perform. The reason they don't care is because the entire point from the beginning of planning for this alternative halftime show was to avoid and keep more people from seeing maybe the message behind Bad Bunny's show. Again, it was all in Spanish. Many people could still understand the message behind it without knowing every single word, despite, the grumpy old man president talking about, I can't understand a word he's saying. So since they can't, and they want fewer people to see it, what they want them to not see is the unifying message behind it, or seeing the celebration of a culture that has been dogged out by these white supremacists in the White House and in this MAGA Republican Party for as long as they've been around. They don't want people to see reality. So they're like, even if it sucks, as long as you come over and watch trash, it's okay, as long as they don't see the reality, which it didn't really work out that well for them, though. Because I found this out this morning, that the Bad Bunny halftime show officially has the most watched folks at one Super Bowl show in history. More than 135.5 million viewers tuned in to that. And that's actually their worst nightmare. And I enjoyed that Bad Bunny actually celebrated the culture that we continue to act like is non-existent, that is criminally based, and there's a bunch of rapists, drug dealers, and criminals that Donald Trump very first talked about, as his administration is full of rapists, drug dealers, criminals, and human traffickers. These are the messages that we should see as they try and dog out other cultures for, just existing. That's what white supremacy is. And that's what this president is pushing.